What happened here is there was a house here, a built house, correct?
It was a built house, just like mine.
Just like yours.
And you can even
just
see
like
here, after they knock down the house, the crane takes a jackhammer, and just to piss us off more, by the way, the cranes are always operated and the tractors are operated by Arabs. They bring Arabs in to destroy Jewish homes. So the whole thing is sick.
Oh, wait. Let me just make clear what happened. So what you're saying is the Israeli government sent Arab employees to destroy this home.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you understand what this means? So Michael basically claimed he came to a hill that had nothing built on it. Okay, a hill in Judea, and so that the Jews can be free in their own land. So what is the logic of the Israeli government? How do they make these decisions? Why would they come demolish the houses of Jews who are trying to make this secure for the Jewish people? Michael, thank you for agreeing to talk to me.
Thanks for coming. It's been a pleasure so far.
This is Michael Weichbrod. He is what the media calls a settler, which is not the right term for Michael, because Michael is living in his own land, the land of Israel, the land that God gave to the Jews. And he is right here in Judea, which means land of the Jews. And what we're seeing here, over here, is we have a view of the Dead Sea, and beyond that is Jordan, the kingdom of Jordan. And Michael has established himself on these Judean hills. He built his home. We're going to look at his home in a second. But first, I want you to get to know Michael. And the first thing I want to ask you, Michael, is how did you make the decision? Because you're from Brooklyn originally, right?
Correct.
So tell us, how did you make the decision? What happened on that day when you said, I have to come to live in Israel and I have to go live up in one of these hills that the Jews need to claim because people are trying to take the land of the Jews away from them? How did you make that decision?
Well, so just to clarify, those decisions came at two different times. First, there was the decision to come to Israel in a populated city. I lived in Ramat Beit Shemesh.
Okay.
I thought when I moved here, just like many people do, that if you come to Yehuda or the Shomron, Judea and Samaria, you probably just get lynched by Arabs because that's what I thought. Also, I'd never been here. So the first few years that I was in this land, I didn't step foot outside of past the green line or whatever. But then after falling deeply in love with the land and wanting to contribute more and be part of the work of pioneering and conquering and reconquering, resettling the land that God gave to us.
How about liberating?
Liberating, yeah.
I think that's a more appropriate term.
You're right. You're probably right. Could be I'm in too black. I'm out here for too long. We use the intense words, but call it whatever you want. Yeah, it's just we don't want concrete. We don't want liberating. We don't want anything. We just want to live in our land peacefully. That's it. I just want to live here. That's it. So my decision to move from Brooklyn to the land of Israel came purely from a biblical space. I simply there's different aspects of the Torah that Jews learn. There's something called the oral Torah, the oral tradition, and then there is the written Torah, which is what Gentiles also learn, right? So that's the Old Testament. So it depends on what you are. Some people have a New Testament, whatever you want to do. But there's the Old Testament that we all agree on. That's Tanach. Tanach stands for Torah, Nevi'im, Kesuvim, which is prophets, writings, and the Bible itself. And many Jews spend a lot of time learning the oral Torah, which is equally as important for a Jew specifically, for everyone, which is understanding how the sages interpret the Torah. So I personally have a deep love for the written Torah. Obviously, I study both. You have to, because one cannot be understood without the other. But I personally am very passionate about the written Torah. I think it's very deep and it talks to me. So after reading through the prophets, specifically many times, it became...
But the prophets are not in the Torah. Only one prophet is in the Torah.
Well, we call the Torah...
You're talking about all of Tanakh now?
Yeah.
Tanakh. Okay.
Yeah. It's an interchangeable word, Torah. Sometimes,
got it.
But as a Jew,
You sometimes say Torah for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Got it.
If I'm specific with the actual Bible, I would call that the 5 books of Moses. So that would be the beginning of the Torah, and then the Torah continues on because it just leaves us off with the Jews coming here.
And it does feel like one work, doesn't it?
Yeah. Moses passes away. God tells Joshua, you take over, and then
Yeah.
And then the Nevi'im, the prophets, begin with Joshua saying,
right.
okay, God, here we go. It's a continue. It doesn't end.
Got
but we
it.
split it up. So
I often forget about these terminological,
Yeah,
local
yeah.
terminological.
even Jews don't really. It is a little confusing, and I'll try to be very specific how I talk. When I say Torah, I mean all of the work.
Okay.
So anyway, so I was very big into reading the prophets. I was very connected to that, and after reading them a few times, it became abundantly clear that every Jew should be in this land, and every Jew should, for all of history, should have done everything they can to come to this land. Now, granted, it wasn't always possible, but now it is, and every Jew should be living in this land. And the truth is, every Gentile, such as yourself, should be putting in all of their efforts to be a Noahide, to fulfill what the Bible lays out for the Gentiles.
Well, as a Noahide, as a committed Noahide, I couldn't agree more.
Good.
I couldn't agree more.
I love that you could say ch. So many people can.
Well, it's not so hard
already
because I
said.
speak Spanish, so we have the
Okay, that's
in Spanish.
fine.
We have the
That's fine. Okay, fine. I got you. Because in America, Gentiles can't do it. So I'm a big fan of all Gentiles being Noachides or Nohides.
Yeah.
And inevitably, if you are, come to the land. Come to the land, live here, serve God alongside us, and we work together.
So in other words, to summarize, your decision to leave Beit Shemesh and come live, you have to understand, there is nothing much here except what Michael has built.
When I came here, there was nothing here. All these houses came after me.
Exactly.
Besides this blue house right here, half of it was here. And he wasn't living here full time. He was waiting for someone else to join him so he can have a partner to... There was no infrastructure. We ran water lines together. Electric comes with the solar panels. Gas comes for the tanks. So there was nothing here. And when I came in, me and him and a few friends, we ran a water line from the nearest city, which took a few days of just rolling and unrolling and unrolling and unrolling water lines. So yeah.
Wow. So do you understand what this means? So Michael basically claimed he came to a hill that had nothing built on it. Okay, a hill in Judea, and so that the Jews can be free in their own land, he decided to come brave the situation here because this is actually not a very secure place. Just right next to Michael, we have Arab villages that often, but people from those villages often come to intimidate.
This hill, I will say, I feel very comfortable.
Okay.
What I was telling you off camera before is more in the recent week or two, they started provoking. I think it's because of Ramadan. So they get a spiritual high, and they think, okay, now God's with us because we're fasting. So there's a lot. Every year during Ramadan, the Arabs tend to provoke more because it's like their high holiday.
Well, what a nice religion, Michael. So when they get very holy, they get violent with their neighbors.
Generally, yeah.
What a nice religion. Fantastic. So we're gonna have more to say about Islam because I'm going to be publishing a couple of articles on what the actual ideology of Islam is. But yeah. So we know that Judea and Samaria have been much of Judea and Samaria was given over to what we now call the Palestinian Authority. Which we should really call PLO Fatah by its real name,
aka Hamas or Hezbollah, call it whatever you want. They only work for terrorists.
Right, exactly.
So
So Judea and Samaria, much of Judea and Samaria was given over to the terrorists of PLO Fatah in the Oslo process. So you may not know this because it's not all over the media, although it's very well documented, and in fact it's very public. Documented by, I think, Edwin Black in his book, Financing the Flames, is that PLO Fatah, or the Palestinian Authority, as they now call it, has a program called Pay for Slay. Pay for Slay. Pay for Slay means that if any Arab in the Palestinian Authority kills a Jew, they get a lifetime salary, okay? Lifetime salary. If they die in the attempt, goes to the family. So that's a huge incentive for any of these Arabs to try to take Michael out, or one of the other people, one of the other Jews who are here settling in their own land. And that's not the only challenge Michael is facing, because he also has to contend with the Israeli government. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Which, unfortunately, I will say is a bigger enemy than the Arabs.
Which, unfortunately, is a bigger enemy than the Arabs. Did you hear that?
We have meetings here weekly as to how do we continue to be here, how do we fight back, how do we make sure our houses don't get ripped down, how do we make sure that we don't get hurt. and the conversation is, all besides for maybe the first time this week, a bit of the conversation, every one of our conversations is only about the Israeli government, never about the Arabs. The Arabs are petrified of the Jewish resettlers, to say the least. Because
you guys are tough guys.
I'm not such a tough guy, but there are people out here who don't take kindly to Arabs coming on our hills and murdering Jews. Because that has been reliberated by the Jewish people. If an Arab drives on the hill, there's only one reason he's there. He's either there to murder Jews or to take pictures for his friends to murder Jews. Like we saw Hamas did on October 7th. All the Arabs work with each other to try to get to gather information so they can commit a healthy amount of genocide and Jew slaughter. So we are not violent, but when an Arab drives onto a Jewish hill in Judea and Samaria, it only means they're here to murder us, because we don't hire Arabs on this hill. So they're not here for work. They're not lost because they know these hills a lot better than we do. So yeah, generally, like what people see, out there, the Israeli settler violence, it's not violence, it's defensive warfare, because for every Arab that the Jews don't defend against, that Arab will kill Jews. I mean, it's just a simple. I'll just say, just last week, a friend of mine who lives on a different hill. There was, of course, in the news, the Arab that got beat up, and they showed, the bloody picture, this, that. And what actually happened is this Arab came onto a hill with a knife, and he was there to kill Jews. So the Jews, thank God, due to God's great grace and mercy, there was some Jew on the lookout, spotted him. So he called all the other Jews. They all came around and beat him to a pulp, tied him up, and then called the Israeli authorities. And of course, like every situation these things are presented, look at what they did to the innocent Arab who's just taking a walk on his ancient homeland. They always forget the little details of he was holding a giant machete. Little details that they forget to mention. But anyway, I can rant about this all the time. But
I'm interested in talking more about your difficulties with the Israeli government. That's very interesting to me. So why don't we walk over to the property that they destroyed?
Yeah, let's go take it. There's unfortunately a few of them, but we can
let's
start.
look at them so that people can see them and you can tell us about it. So while we walk to the destroyed property, why don't you tell us a little bit of how this back and forth with the Israeli government has been? How does this work?
So again, like when all the questions really that out here is there's no one answer. Every hill has their own confrontation and conflicts with the Israeli government. Again, in Samaria, in the Shomron, there's much more issues with the Arabs. The Arabs there are more violent, and so are the Jews. Inevitably, they have to be. Okay. So there inevitably is much. Somebody out here, they told me, and it's a very good phrase. He said, in Judea, the ground is hard and the Jews are soft. In Samaria, the ground is soft and the Jews are hard. It's true. Out here, the Jews are much more peaceful, but the ground is all rock.
I see.
Everything that we dig out here, we got to chisel away with a jackhammer.
Oh, okay.
In Samaria, much better farming. Soft land, but the Jews there are very tough. So over there, their issues are going to be very different. Over here, we have less issues with the Arabs.
There are fewer Arabs here. Is that true?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, yeah. Samaria, all the major violent Arab cities like Ramallah and these famous cities, that's all in the Samaria.
Okay.
Out here, there are still plenty of Arab cities, but it's a little more calm. The Jews, and inevitably, when they're calmer and they don't slaughter as many Jews. So the guy whose house was knocked down, he cleared it away, but we can see some of it.
Okay.
There's more houses down there, but this is just my next door neighbor. So he put this little thing up just to, I don't know, try to remind people that.
Let me just explain to my viewers.
He came with a tractor and cleaned it all up because the Israeli government won't clean up their mess. So he paid for it.
But what happened here is there was a house here, a built house, correct?
There was a built house just like mine.
Just like yours.
And you could even see here, after they knock down the house, the crane takes a jackhammer. And just to piss us off more, by the way, the cranes are always operated and the tractors are operated by Arabs. They bring Arabs in to destroy Jewish homes. So the whole thing is sick.
Oh, wait. Let me just make clear what happened. So what you're saying is the Israeli government sent Arab employees to destroy this home. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, by the way, when they came to knock down these homes, one tractor So inevitably, as they come, a lot of the Jews here are throwing rocks and yelling and screaming because like they're coming to knock down our homes.
Right.
And one tractor, the guy rolled down the window and he started yelling back. He said, "Don't throw, I'm a Jew. They lied to me. They told me I'm here to knock down, do some demolition work." He said, "They never told me that it was Jews." And he turned his tractor around and left, and he got into a lot of trouble. But he said, "I'm not going to knock down Jewish homes," which is why which is why when they send down, there were hundreds and hundreds of soldiers, police, mostly police, the Magav, so that they sent down here. And, people say you can't blame them because they're just working for the government. I say every one of them should be making the same decision that tractor driver made. They should say, "I'm not knocking down a fellow Jewish home," and leave. But they don't do that, unfortunately. So, okay, yeah.
So what is the logic of the Israeli government? How do they make these decisions?
Many of the decisions are made when there is a political push from America specifically, where Israel gets a lot of support from, which I'm vehemently against, and I think anyone with half a brain should be vehemently against. We should not be taking a penny from the American government, and I think that's what the American people want too. All the anti-Semites, at least, they don't want us to be taking...
So in other words, it seems like in your interpretation, the funding that comes from the American government only serves to...
Right, so when
give the U.S. government power over Israeli policy.
Yeah, they say, "Oh, exactly." There's that. That's part of the issue, and the other part of the issue. So now we have a friend in the government, Trump. God bless him. And but even with him, then there's the other aspect, which is that unfortunately the Israeli government is still heavily saturated with self-hating Jews, and specifically Jews who passionately hate people who follow God, and they're still rooted in the in the roots of secular Zionism, the way this country was founded, which thank God the people have changed. They
seem to have rejected it.
Yeah, the people, but unfortunately the government, they've still held a lot of power, and they're not giving it up so quickly. Specifically, the Supreme Court.
But just to understand, so the government makes the decision to demolish this house because why? What? How does that happen?
Because we are living here illegally. We didn't buy it, we don't own it. What right do we have to be here? Let's demolish it. Which, now I'll explain, I'm all for. Absolutely. Why would somebody come and build a house on a place that doesn't belong to them? That's simply unfair. But I'll explain the background, and then I think everyone can just decide for themselves. This is Area C, okay? Much of the land out here is Area C, which is Israel-owned land. It belongs to Israel, and Israel governs it and has rights to it. Who is living on this hill for 20 years up until October 7th? Arabs. Arabs who provoked and caused unlimited problems for the Jewish Yishuv that's right there, that hill over. Okay?
So that's a Jewish community over here.
That's been there, that Yishuv has been there for, I think, 20 plus, maybe 30 years or so. And the Arabs that were living here obviously caused nothing but problems for them. The Arabs here want Jews dead. And there were Arabs living here. So
they have suffered attacks from Arabs?
I don't know exactly what they suffered. But they steal cars, they steal stuff, they steal sheep from the shepherds. I'm not going to say exactly what crimes everyone committed. There's Arabs that are more peaceful, less. And when I say peaceful, I mean they all want Jews dead, but they're not willing to necessarily do it themselves. Maybe they spy for Hamas. It's the Arabs that live out here. I'm not going to say everyone, but the majority of them are passionately against and hate Jewish people, and rightfully so. Their religion dictates that, and by all means.
In other words, by hating Jewish people, they're actually following their own religion. Is that what you're saying?
They would have to, because if they believe the Jewish people are the chosen people, and if they believe the Jewish people still have rights to this land, as the Torah says, as the Bible says, well, that would mean they're illegitimate because they believe that they were chosen. It's replacement theory, and there's a lot of Christians like that too, right? It's replacement theory. As long as if Jews return to this land, what that proves is that the Bible is truthful, because God said at the end of days, I will bring you back to this land, which is crazy. We're dispersed around the world. We've been slaughtered by every country we've been in, attacked by every people, and somehow we're back in the land, keeping the same religion, serving the same God, and that is proof that God keeps his promises. And people that are inevitably all Muslims have to believe in replacement theology, and really Christians, I don't know, I'm not going to say they have to, but it works out a lot better if you believe in replacement theology, because again, like, how can there be a New Testament if God said I will never change my Torah. So inevitably, in order to be part of any other religion, unless you're a Noahide, such as yourself, you have to, at some level, you can be a Christian Zionist.
Mm-hmm.
You can appreciate the Jewish people. You can appreciate, and that's a good. Well, okay, I'm going to get caught off on a rant here. But the fact is, yes, Arabs have to hate Jews. It's part of their religion, because if they were okay with us being here, it would just simply prove that they are wrong and Muhammad was wrong, because their belief is that God chose them instead.
Why would the Israeli government take a position that benefits Arabs against Jews? Why would they come demolish the houses of Jews who are trying to make this secure for the Jewish people?
You want to answer?
The Israeli government is really afraid of the whole world opinion, and there's been this apologetics going on since the beginning of the state, and it's just getting worse. And they're afraid of the West. They're afraid of public opinion, and they're making concessions. And they're also, another thing, they're afraid of the religious aspect of the country. They want to have a secular government. They want to separate religion from the state of Israel.
Yeah. So what Aaron just said would be my answer. Also, I think it's multi-leveled, but that would be the answer. It's again, they're rooted in secular Zionism, which is we're a Jewish people, we're a nation, and we need to have our own state in order to survive. History has proven that. But like Herzl, Theodor Herzl, who founded the state in a certain sense, and he was very open about, is that he believed that it was our religion was the reason that people hated us. And he said he'd prefer that we assimilate. But because we can't, because the world won't let us assimilate, thank God, we have to have our own land. So I think they're still rooted in that. Like there's a larger majority of the government still believes that.
So this is the Galut theory. So
Yeah.
they're still in the Golah. They're still, their minds are still in the exile, and they can't really get themselves to be real Jews in the land of Israel. They're still taking their orders from powerful Gentiles outside of Israel.
Right. They believe that we can be, not just that we can be, that we're better off being a nation without the Torah rather than being a nation with the Torah. Obviously.
But see, the problem for me with that explanation is that even if that's true, that their minds are in the exile, why would they perceive it as better for them for this to be populated with Arabs as opposed to Jews?
So I have many answers to this, and I could talk about this for a long time.
Well, give me your best answer. The most important one.
I think there's a lot of them. Okay, so my best answer that I believe in the deepest, and I think it's the only way to explain it, but I don't necessarily think it's the best answer for everyone else, is that when you're a Jew, specifically a Jew, without the Torah, you can become the most demented, insane, evil person, because a Jewish soul needs the Torah. And you can see that. You can see how many of the people that were involved in the communist socialist movements, which birthed the greatest evils in modern history, were Jewish. You know, Aaron, what are some of the names?
Oh, you're thinking of Marx then?
Karl Marx.
But he was a Christian.
Was he a Jew?
He was descended from Jews, but
Okay.
he was
Right.
a Christian.
But if
He was
you're a
Christian.
Jew without the Torah, there's a few names. Marx is one of them. Okay, whatever.
Well, I don't see why you would call him a Jew. I mean, his parents converted to Christianity.
That has nothing to do with
born.
it. If you have, once a Jew, always a Jew. If you're a Jew through your mother, right? That's how we go. If you're a Jew through your mother, you are a Jew.
Right,
You
but
can't
that-
change that.
Okay,
And
but
that's
he
the
was
problem.
not. He was not an ideological Jew.
That has nothing to do with it. That's what I'm saying. If you are a Jew, according to it doesn't matter even if you're 100 generations non-religious, that you haven't been practicing. Your parents are Christian, your grandparents are Christian, your great-grandparents were Muslim, and they were Christian before that and before that. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
How the Torah, the Torah's rule for being a Jew is if your mother is a Jew, and
Right.
her mother was a Jew, and her mother was a Jew all the way back to Mount Sinai,
Or somebody converted.
or somebody converted. Granted.
In most of the cases, if you go back 5
Yeah.
generations, there's a convert in every.
And that's what I'm saying. That people who they're blood Jews. They're Jews according to the law of the Torah, but they don't practice. They are capable. I'm not saying always, but they are capable of becoming the most evil people
So,
that there are.
would you agree with a more general statement that it's attractive for Jews who assimilate to acquire anti-Semitism as part of the package of assimilation?
So again, as I'm saying, that's the answer I believe in. But I understand that not everyone, unless you're very spiritually connected, you'll have a hard time connecting to that answer. But like what Aaron said is, I think just realistically is, again, Jews who don't believe in the Torah, they basically, the very exile mentality, which is we have to kiss up to the world, we have to try to win the world's approval. And again, even Herzl and secular Zionism, that's what it was rooted in. It was, if we could just simply become more like the nations of the world, maybe they'll stop wanting to kill us. And so the government, much of the government here in Israel is still deeply rooted in that ideology, in which case the greatest threat to them is Jews who passionately follow what the Torah says, and only what the Torah says. And that's the people that live out on these hills.
It's a threat to them because the governments of the West will then complain about this because they're always on the side of the Arabs.
Yeah, well, look at the world, the UN, Europe, and America, and everything in between. They're all anti-Semitic. They think we're occupying this land, this and that. So the government just goes with them. So to them, it's like, yes, we need the land, but on the other hand, it's like, let's just give anything we can. Let's just give it back to the Arabs, you know. So they're happy with the tiny little speck of a strip that is known as Israel proper, and they say, let's just make anything we can give back for the sake of land for peace. Land for peace. Land for peace has only led to rivers of flowing Jewish blood. But
if you could choose, you yourself individually, nobody else, if you could choose the Prime Minister of Israel, who would it be?
Somebody who's running or somebody who's not running?
Just who do you like?
Who do I like?
Doesn't have to be running.
Well, you got someone named Feiglin. What's his first name, Aaron?
Moshe
Feiglin. So I think he's the only person that's in politics that is probably, maybe Ben Gvir, but probably Feiglin is a lot better. He's a person who believes in Jewish sovereignty. He believes in getting rid of the Arabs and Jews, taking this land, not because we have a problem with Arabs, but we have a problem with people who want to slaughter us. He believes in getting rid of the Dome of the Rock and building what's supposed to be there, which is the temple, the Jewish temple, which is not, we can call it the Jewish temple because the Jews have to build it, but it's actually it's called a house of prayer for all nations. So it's not just for the Jews, it's for the world. And when the temple stood, when Solomon built the temple, it only brought blessing to the entire world and all of humanity who were able to flocked to this temple. So it's not just for us; it's for all people. So Feiglin is the only person I know that's in politics, or I think wants to get back into politics. I believe, who will probably want to run for some sort of political party. But outside of him, I'm fine with anyone as long as they first and foremost put the Torah above everything and anything else, and every decision is based on the Torah. And not their interpretation of the Torah, but the Torah itself. And I believe that somebody, the right person for the job would be somebody who didn't just do what he believed the Torah says. Because if I was the prime minister, I might want to do what I believe the Torah says, but I might be mistaken. I think the proper prime minister would be someone who has a full assembly of rabbis from different spectrums, Zionist rabbis, Haredi rabbis from all walks, Sephardi, Ashkenaz, rabbis from Mexico, rabbis from Russia, an entire array of an assembly of 20 people that sit and try to figure out what does God want us to do, and ultimately the person I want to be the prime minister will be somebody who would come, and the day he is elected would do everything in his power to rid this land of our enemies, meaning Arab and non-Arab, like anybody who's
a terrorist who wants to kill Jews,
who is a terrorist or wants to commit crimes or wants to spit on God. This land should be completely cleansed of anybody that does not believe in God and wants to serve God, and immediately should take a giant bulldozer to the Dome of the Rock and start building the day of his election, to start building the temple. That's whoever is willing to do that is the person I want. The only person I know that might be closest to that is Feiglin, but even him, I'm not sure. If I was the prime minister,
Well,
that's what I would
he
do.
does say that he will do that.
Yeah, and he wears a pin.
Yeah.
And I spoke to him actually. He wears a pin,
Yeah.
and he said, you have Ben Gvir who wears the noose pin to give because he's trying to promote the death penalty for terrorists.
Mhm.
So it's a nice pin to wear, and it's a nice idea for sure. I mean, it's like a given. Obviously, we should be killing people who murder other people. That's just like all of humanity appreciates that. But it's not the pin you should wear because that's a side point. That's how you deal with crime and terrorism. The pin that every Jew should wear is what Feiglin wears, which is the temple. That's the only thing we should think about and the only thing we should do, and not because we want a fancy building on the Temple Mount, but because that building will be a place where we can bring God's Shekhinah, God's glory, His essence into this world. And it's a place that we can use to connect, the same way Jews being in Israel is going to help the world connect to God, and that's going to be the center of the land of Israel. So it's not just about the building, it's about what the building represents. And all Gentiles and Jews need to learn more about this, know what it represents, why we should have it, and should be working together to build it.
Michael, we have to go, but thank you very much for sharing your perspective with us. You're
I
brave.
appreciate it.
You're a brave guy. Thank you for believing in this country, for believing in the importance of being brave and staking out a claim here against all odds, because it's not what you're doing is not easy. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
good luck to you.
Pleasure talking to you.
Bless you.
Okay, so we're here at Tel Kayafa. We're looking over the valley of Elah. Over here down is where the Plishtim first fought with the Jews. And then down over here is where David and Goliath fought. We're here on a Sunday with Francisco, Dr. White.
Down there.
Down here is where they fought, and over here is where David and Goliath.
Yeah. This is very special wall. You see the little wounds here?